If I'm on a good evening, I hope say any side usa on a friend on self na this one. I hope say una they do good. As you all know, we didn't ask today for talk about Salone issues, but we didn't ask for talk about a specific issues. Today, I titled the show Uncovering the Alleged Baseless Allegation. So, una go on and say, okay, why make you title and so? Una know for say, one we brought away we call Mr. Chernoh been come out with some news. When the news then they come out, we hear you boku seen them. But one particular one we begin with 2 weeks ago, the response when we get back from the person in office, then say a baseless allegation. So today, they can't sit inside the ballet. We can talk about this baseless allegation. Then una self go judge for una self. But even before we go there, and to myself, I say, cousin Modu been tell me, say, 200,000 vaccine them land inside Freetown. Here's what I have to say to that. Make the president, the wife, in picking them, the ministers them, then picking them, then wife them. Make we all see them, whether they take that vaccine day. Whether not take the vaccine done, then sometimes we self can begin to line. But as of right now, make all the MDAs them, then picking them and then fumble them and everybody make them take and force. And they with the left arm. Make a left una, make una say adieu to the man of the hour. And also on all the one that he did, Matilda, na sidetrack you one sidetrack, so I they talk boku one so. Well, they are so with me. I can guarantee you that. Mr. Ba, tell Fambule Adu.
Thank you very much, Sister Matilda and Fabulem. Good evening.
Indeed. So today we then I also for talk about the office, obviously, of the Chief Minister. But even before we go inside the office of the Chief Minister, on I know for say the last day when me and Mr. Bab in Sudan, we've been left on side. So we can pick up from whose side we left. We go talk about the Rob Mott they small, and then before we sit down inside the office of the Chief Minister proper. On I been for say the person where we call we First Lady, it been notorious for say this country, them penny they know they give me, them penny I know they take, them penny I know they spend. Then it turned from them penny to one bottle water self they not give me. Then it turned from the one bottle water to, well, why they gonna other people in country where then they invite me, now then they pay for me tickets, now then they pay for me aid and tickets. When me self invite them, me self need for pay for them. Usa una want make a pull am. Now they the word end. Usa una want make a pull am. But the question what they ask now, so nobody know they ask you usa you for pull am. The question is, was it appropriate? Was it legal? Was it legitimate? Was it done according to the rules and regulations of the country? That is the question we are asking. But we be hearing somebody who I can call, una self know what I say the man with the gift of the gab, una know that I can talk about. The man with the gift of the gab, the Minister of Communication and Information, he can talk something then. Well, even before I left Mr. Bame answer this question, I want to make the technical team remind Fambulen waiting the Minister of Information will get for say about this point blank unlawful spending, illegal acquisition of the country's money and spending of the First Lady's office and by the First Lady.
We other studio guests, the Minister of Information and Communication. He be there this morning for talk about the younger issue and how far governments don't go for settle the issue where they between Salone and Guinea. But unfortunately, we get this other issue now the program where now the issue of alleged corruption matter them with regards to the office of the First Lady and the ACC yesterday poll release, which I say then they investigate 14 years they can down the office of the president. As government, how not receive this?
Well, first off, I want for state government position on this matter very, very clearly. This government we repeated at home and abroad. Then sabi this government, President Building government, as government, we get a huge appetite for transparency and accountability. As a result of that, we various global rankings and not improve, we come Padawandi. So we don't follow in the last few days, in the last 1 week, the allegation here we Marcella de refer to. As government, we support the ongoing investigations for establish the facts of the matter. But I want to make a few comments there without prejudicing the ongoing investigations by the ACC. Number one, we note say government don't do disbursements to the office of the First Lady for undertake priority flagship projects there for support His Excellency President Bill in human capital development, giving more hope to girls so that they live in a society where they're free for realize their fullest potentials. Various campaigns would see they undertake. Yeah, so government clearly aware of that. Again, we aware say relevant provisions and they, because I don't follow the arguments and back and forth. You know, this is almost an ambush, but law uses opportunity for making points there. We also aware say the Public Financial Management Act of 2016, section 39(1), it make clear provisions for let the Minister of Finance get 1% what it can allocate to public interest issues. No need for be specifically budgeted na the approved budget. But that is a leeway within the Minister of Finance. So as to the appropriateness or otherwise, it should never arise. It is not a Supreme Court issue. It is not any issue where you get for go otherwise. It's clearly spelled out. Just for the reference, na section 39(1) and section 39(2), they explain how you able to access that one day. So this is established, formally founded, right? So as government, we support the ACC ongoing investigations, but we are aware say, yes, these were legitimate disbursements. Yeah, government can even say, okay, well, they support 98.1 using the powers vested in the Minister of Finance, as long as not for public interest. And then campaign here, it's about saving the next generation of leaders. It's about investing in the future of our country.
The issue
particularly
here,
in the context and all incidents.
the issue here
The
is
rest of the other issues, you know, I really don't want for the on trial on this. I think, say, in the end, we will prejudice the outcome. It might have tendency for prejudice the ACC investigations there.
So
and as government, we don't want for be seen doing that. We want to give the ACC and all accountability institutions there the free hand for do their job unhindered.
So you just make mention, say government aware, say disbursements they go to the First Lady office, so it means say money they come out from the consolidated fund for support activities.
Absolutely.
Of the First Lady office. So waiting at the total disbursements where governments don't make so far, as you state, so
well, so
aware
that
about
one
the
day, part of the investigations, the ACC will establish that one and all of that. I mean, a lot not go into the granular details. We have one government position on this matter, and that is government's position. If any issues they know that, the ACC investigations will find that one day out. I think that should be sufficient enough for law not prejudice and compromise the investigations.
all right. Well, the time for my studio clock now 8:31. Law make some money inside the program.
Okay, so it's been very important for me to start the program with this, because this now the official take, now the official stand of the government, of the sovereign state, of the current ruling government. Okay, because this now the information minister where they come forward and say, as to the appropriateness, we not for even question them, because the Procurement of Financial Regulation Act of 2016, section 39, subsection 1 and 32, give clear, leeway, blanket slate application to the Minister of Finance for using discretion for fund anything where pertaining to the relevance, he said the relevance of the states. Okay, now, as a researcher, no go do research and come up with anything they so without look into the rules and regulations of the law. Let's just get that clear. So I sure say Mr. Bass no waiting rights na subsection 39 and the application na subsection 32. Before a right waiting a right. Now, if you talk, say 1% of the budget can be allocated discretionary by the Minister of Finance for something we for do with the state, for benefit the state. Is it 1% of the budget that is allocated to one single person? Or is it 1% of the budget that is allocated to multiple ventures by different individuals for the state? I go to Mr. Chernoh, make it answer this question. Yeah, so basically, the answer is that the appropriateness of the use or the disbursement of those funds should not even come into question. What do you get for say about this, even as you talk in relation to the law within quote?
Thank you very much for starting the conversation this way. And I think we underline a couple of things before we move into whether the minister's statement or comment get any basis in law or, not any correct statement. In the first place, the minister just confirmed that the publication that the Africanist press did was actually factual. There were no, what do they call, allegations. There's no so I can tell people and say what we publish is basically on government record. It's government record. The record speaks for itself because it comes from the primary documentation of the government, either by way of letters or in this case, as we talk about financial records, both in terms of government disbursements, letters from the various government agencies and departments. You make a very valid point at the beginning. What made this conversation, in fact, important for the people of Sierra Leone, and the fact that for close to 3 years, the wife of the president is on record, not just within Sierra Leone, but outside of the borders of Sierra Leone, saying on record that she has never touched public funds, both in her own private activity and in public endeavors. It even further say the monies that she is using, they are monies belonging to her, that money she worked over 20 years and all of that. In fact, one of the reasons when in we own investigation into public finance, into the public financial operations of the government of Sierra Leone, we see this active disbursement and use of active allocation and use of public funds by the wife of the president as not only interesting, but a revealing situation, because the people of Sierra Leone were not aware you cannot use government funds, public money, in secret. That's one aspect. So if anything, first we have established now the fact that whatever we have published relating to the office of the First Lady has been proven by all of the people who have spoken differently and variously at various times to be factual, beginning with the reaction of the wife of the president herself, admitting for the very first time in over the couple of the last almost 3 years now, for the very first time, admitting to the public that she is indeed a recipient of public money that's coming from the consolidated fund, direct recipient, underline the word direct recipient of active budgetary allocations. And one of the things we also point out, now that we not just say she's receiving money, we also point out the fact that her budgetary allocation, or the money that's coming from the consolidated fund going to the wife of the president, exceeds a combination of ministries that are strategic. We even point to the fact that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is a very significant ministry because they're responsible for coordination of international affairs, coordinating the activities of our embassies abroad and coordination of foreign relations, that even the Minister of Foreign Affairs is starved of funds, that the Office of the First Lady was receiving more money and was spending more money than any other government agency, ministry or department, to the extent that the money allocated to the wife of the president, all excessive and frivolous associated with that kind of activity of the wife of the president, the money cannot be exhausted. That by December, by the close of the fiscal year 2020, we noticed that when you check the balance we left at the account of the office of the First Lady, one of the account, not just one, not just two, because she runs two government accounts, one with the Bank of Sierra Leone that was established on the 28th of June 2018. We noticed in that account alone, she had almost close to 8 billion that was left. And that is not to say she hasn't spent the money, because around December alone, we check withdrawals and disbursement. Much of it, in fact, was spent in activities leading up to the constituency 110 elections. These are things that we're going for even flesh out, because we have not even looked at the, if I use the same word with the minister uses, we have not even explored the granular details of the expenditure, the actual expenditure activities of the office of the First Lady. So I think what is significant for me in all of this conversation is the fact that none of these public officials, the Minister of Information, Minister of, everybody we don't talk from government side, from the office of the First Lady right down, nobody has denied the validity of the publications, the validity of the evidence we've presented, the truthful nature of the evidence. So that's one aspect. Now, coming to the question of the legal basis of that, the question then, for me to answer that, why was it important for the First Lady, for the wife of the president, for even pretend say she wasn't receiving government money, she wasn't receiving public money? Why was she denying that for consistently 3 years until the Africanist press unveiled the mask of that activity, the actual financial operation of the office of the First Lady? Why was it important for people in government who claim now that they were aware to remain silent while the wife of the president was deceiving the public, deceiving the world about the financial operation, because they knew it was illegal. They knew that there was no basis for that kind of activity. That's why they remain silent until they are now forced to find an explanation. But even if you look at the legislation when you cite, the legislation, they are citing it out of context. I will appreciate when I get some kind of legal panel for explore some of these questions. But
yes,
everyone can say law is based on its interpretation, but its spirit and interpretation. And for the most part, people in power, in our own context, especially where institutions, state institutions are largely working for the state because they are staffed for the most part by ruling party officials. So the interpretation of the law is for the most part the opinion of those in power. They interpret the law in ways that satisfy their interest. But on the surface of it, or even in the spirit of it, what it says is that the 1%, for example, if you take this supposed to be ministries, agencies, and departments, if, for example, the Ministry of Information has, for its annual budget for that year, 30 million, I just simplify, 30 million, say, and then put together, say, 90 million consolidated fund for running activities for that given year. So they prepare these sectoral budgets, they take it to the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance incorporate it as part of the appropriation bill. That's how it functions, that's how it works. And then the Minister of Finance take this overall bill and go to Parliament, ask Parliament for make Parliament give them the authorization for spend public money and for also generate public money. And that authorization is what they call the Finance Act. And then accompanying the Finance Act, apart from the appropriation bill, you see the line by line activities. When you look the appropriation bill and all of these expenditure, you check parliamentary records, you find out in 2018, 2019, 2020, there is nothing in all of these 3 years of budgetary estimates. We stipulate how government intends for generate money and how they intend for spend money. There is no line in any of those 3 years that the Minister of Finance presented to Parliament where there is an expenditure detail, one line will say this amount of money is going to the office of the First Lady. So for argument's sake, if we take the Minister of Information's position as for the sake of comfort, which is actually to be generous to him. If we take that as a line of discussion or a line of conversation, we say, okay, if that is the case, if you had given 1% faulty argument, but I just want for the benefit of If that is the case, in 2018, you wake up all of a sudden, the Office of the First Lady is undertaking significant activity that's of public benefit, and we don't give 1% of the budget to that. Then that means in the next year, you're supposed to reflect, if you don't say it can be an ongoing activity, you're supposed to reflect that in the budgetary estimate. You don't understand the financial estimate for that.
Yeah.
And but if you ask parliamentarians now, in fact, that is the position of Parliament, because Parliament is shocked and surprised by the fact that public money is being used without their own authorization. So this is what happens for the most part. If the Minister of Finance, I can't to explain how that 1% thing they come, but when the Minister of Finance go to Parliament and say, okay, this year, government hope for generate 400 billion, stipulate how they intend for generate that money, then we talk, say we increase.
Mr. Bai, you did cut off quite a bit. You did go in and out, so I don't know if you want, so that the how you call them go steady.
Okay. So if Minister of Finance need 400 billion for generate 400 and plan say this year, because of how we intend for generate money, we forget 400 billion and we stipulate inside the appropriation bill how they intend for generate that money. Then we talk about increasing hotel taxes, travel taxes, various measures, import duties and all of that. And along with it again, then talk say now we intend for also spend so amount of money. For the most part, Parliament now they debate whether the budgetary projections and estimates realistic. Now that you can see when the Parliament debate the budget speech. Basically, Parliament is debating the appropriation bill to see whether the Cabinet's projection of how they intend for generate revenue, how they intend for spend, irrational. That is to say, whether expenditure say you get more money than the one way they spend. Okay. And how you intend for service debt and how you intend for do that. So if in the middle of the year, Parliament decides they don't use more money than what is supposed for how they authorize them for use, or they intend for use more money than how they project, they do what they call a supplementary budget. A supplementary budget. Then go back to Parliament and ask Parliament, say, okay, we ask for authorization for spend, for example, 60 billion. But now, based on the kind of unforeseen activities, we don't realize that we're going to spend 20 billion more. So, or we have spent, in fact, 5 billion or 10 billion that was not part of the authorization that we had based on the budgetary estimate and projections that we made. So now we want Parliament for we debate whether they will agree or not. And for the most part, our Parliament in Sierra Leone, Ministers of Finance get away with that. So when you look, there have been, I think, 2 supplementary budgets that they've presented in Parliament so far. None of these also include do with an office of the First Lady.
Exactly. So you don't talk, say,
Which means that this was not only an illegal expenditure, it was hidden expenditure. It was hidden, and why it became hidden and unknown, because this administration implemented what they call a single treasury account, which removed oversight, for the most part, public oversight and public inspection of government expenditure. So if we had not, I would say, with all humility and without necessarily bragging about it, but if the Africanist press had not come out with this evidence to show, undeniably, that the Office of the First Lady is receiving allocation more than plenty ministries, including even the Vice President's office. So if we're talking about 1%, how will the money that has been allocated to the Office of the First Lady exceed even the Minister of Finance, for example?
Right. So now that question, that's true. Yeah. So now that question, I've been actually one for asking. Okay, if they say the Minister of Finance get the discretion under subsection 39(1) and it spell them out in 39.2 how we for disburse that it gets that 1% there. Are you trying now? Is the Minister of Information telling me, or telling not even me, telling the Sierra Leonean people that 1%, that money where then disbursed now the First Lady in account, is equivalent to 1% of we budget, of we national budget? Is that what is, or the financial budget? Is that what the minister is saying? Because basically that's what it comes out to. So if you they tell me say now 1%, so you they try for tell me say 1% equivalent to that money there per year. Then so when we make the calculation, obviously when we make with calculation, we see say that it far exceeds 1%. So what are they trying to say here? Are they trying to say that they have, engaged in defrauding, open robbery of the nation? Because if the minister indeed entitled to the 1%, waiting for show now 1% or less than 1% of that budget allocated to the office of the First Lady. But that is not what we have seen. We see say the First Lady in your allocation gets past the Minister of Gender and Children's Affairs. It gets past the Foreign Affairs Minister. Heck, even gets past the even Chief Minister, the very Chief Minister in your office. So now that I make the statement say you have a private office that is being run as a government, as a legislated institution to the demands of a constitutional legislated institution, which is that of the Gender and Children's Affairs Ministry. If I want to put the work where then they do parallel and together.
Yeah, I think make we add again to this question of 1%. What the 1% is basically saying, for example, if the National Minerals Agency, as an example, the budget for the year, the budgetary estimate na 30 million, then they find out say they need more money, then not for use more than 1% of that allocated budget. That they can use up to 1%. For example, that 1% would be 3 million. And that the 1% talk about. And if they use that one day, the Minister of Finance supposed to take to Parliament and a supplementary appropriation bill, basically for ask Parliament for legal authorization. Like I said, there is nowhere in these 3 years where the Madabi administration that claims to be transparent, that claims to talk about transparency in governance, been known for transparency, was hiding this kind of expenditure. And the recipient of the expenditure was also pretending that she was not receiving this public funds. So the statement by the minister is not just wrong, it's a deliberate effort to justify an illegality, it's a deliberate effort to deceive the public, to mislead the public, and also the reference legislation does not apply in this circumstance. You can ask other lawyers and other people and for talk about it. But as I say, for simple reason, if there was any justification in law, they would not have kept it hidden. It was not just illegal, it was also hidden from the public, and nobody in government that now claims to know about it had ever mentioned it. In fact, they were even supporting claims by the wife of the president that she was not receiving government money. So that's one aspect. But let's go beyond even what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. She runs another account that we have not talked about, that we have not even explained.
I don't know what thing they happened to you, Mike. It crack quite a bit, and I noticed some of the viewers then they experience that as well.
So if it is better now, is it better now?
Yes, now it's much better.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Like what I say, this expenditure was not just illegal, it was also hidden from the public gaze. And one of the reasons why they hide them from public attention, not because then
Cotton Tree Pharmacy is your new trusted provider of pharmacy services in Sierra Leone. You can count on Cotton Tree Pharmacy for genuine quality brand name and generic medicines. Guaranteed refills for prescriptions issued by doctors in Sierra Leone or abroad. Door-to-door medication delivery service in Freetown and beyond. Free health education. Have you heard about our Diaspora Medicine Connect? With Cotton Tree Pharmacy's Diaspora Medicine Connect, anyone can pay for your prescription online. Bring your prescription to 17 Pademba Road. Collect an invoice. Send your invoice to your sponsor in the diaspora. Your sponsor pays for your prescription online. We deliver your medication to you. For quality prescription and medications, visit Cotton Tree Pharmacy at 17 Pademba Road in Freetown. Have questions? Call our pharmacist on WhatsApp at 030-611-664 or visit our website at www.cottontreemedicalgroup.com. Come to Cotton Tree Pharmacy. We are ready to fill your next prescription. Cotton Tree Pharmacy is your new trusted provider of pharmacy services in Sierra Leone. You can count on Cotton Tree Pharmacy for genuine quality brand name and generic medicines. Guaranteed refills for prescriptions issued by doctors in Sierra Leone or abroad. Door-to-door medication delivery service in Freetown and beyond. Free health education. Have you heard about our Diaspora Medicine Connect? With Cotton Tree Pharmacy's Diaspora Medicine Connect, anyone can pay for your prescription online. Bring your prescription to 17 Pademba Road. Collect an invoice. Send your invoice to your sponsor in the diaspora. Your sponsor pays for your prescription online. We deliver your medication to you. For quality prescription and medications, visit Cotton Tree Pharmacy at 17 Pademba Road in Freetown. Have questions? Call our pharmacist on WhatsApp at 030-611-664 or visit our website at www.cottontreemedicalgroup.com. Come to Cotton Tree Pharmacy. We are ready to fill your next prescription.
Why do a website when you can create an app for your business for free? Yes, with TAV App Maker, you can make an app as easy as pie. It only takes a few minutes. Simply choose a design template you like, add the features you want, and once you are happy with the results, publish it to Google Play and Apple Store. So your clients can download your app. Go to TAVAppmaker.com and create your free app today.
Okay, family, until now, know and we want to make sure say una get every single word of waiting Mr. Badi say today. So we need to make sure say all thing they work fine, so that we go JJ and that make we stop. But now all thing good. Mr. Bad, tell family say all thing good right now.
I believe it's all thing on good now.
All thing on good right now. Yeah. Indeed. So make we take from Usai we left. Usai we left. So I want to ask Mr. Ba, even before we sit down inside the other talk proper, I want to read something. Now you February 7 article, you write, say, Section 31(3) of the Anti-Corruption Act of 2008 forbids the peddling of influence in return for any kind of advantage or public benefit. The law makes it a serious offense for any person who solicits, accepts, or obtain an advantage from any other person for himself or for any other person in order to make use of his influence, real or fictitious, to obtain any work, employment, contract, or other benefits from a public body. But however, we see say that is the very infraction the First Lady in office commits by writing personal letters to businesses and institutions and by soliciting a specific amount of fund for what? For privileges and access to the president. I want to make you talk about this and how then they and for me, what thing I really want to make you zone in on is the fact that, let's say everything else that the African press has said about, the illegalities of the First Lady is wrong. This is a clear law. But we also have evidence of how that law has been abridged. I want to make you talk about that.
Yeah. Going back when we first published about the allocation of public funds to the office of the First Lady, not deny receipt of public funds, they admit to them. And not only in the admission, when I go look at the video again, it say he used the money, according to Rand, judiciously. He used that for the intended purpose. And he challenged basically the Africanist press. The First Lady challenged the Africanist press for show evidence, say he not use the money judiciously. Not only that, he also say he not want to take from personally from money for himself. So we say, okay, since you challenge me, if we get the evidence, we could produce them, and we get the evidence. So we say let the evidence speak for itself. We first start by showing exactly that in 2018 alone, all of the money allocated almost to the close to 8 billion was spent frivolously. It was spent without regard to public finance regulations, no bidding for the purchase of furniture, repeated purchase of furniture, fuel, and all of this thing, the purchase of tickets. And also we even published, a few days ago, we don't publish even the full 2018 bank statement for sure, the records, transaction details, and all of that. For sure, say exactly, we have not accused anyone of anything, and we are not making allegations. We are basically exposing how public finances have been used. So then we went further to show that, let's forget about the public money, that even the influence of the president, the wife of the president, is using the position of her husband to solicit money from businessmen and business organizations with a promise or with a pledge that if you contribute 50 million or 100 million, you will get an opportunity for get 10 tickets to the presidential dinner, the annual presidential dinner. And not only that the sitting arrangement at the dinner is going to be done according to order of payment. That if you know the possible first pay, you go there at the front, so you go there near the paper. If you last pay, now you go there last, you table go there last. So, and then we show the letters. And what to make the letters interesting are the fact that the letters were written under the letterhead of the office of the First Lady. But then interestingly, again, people were directed to make such payments to the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation. That is a charity, a supposed charitable organization that was established by the president and the current president and his wife before they became president. And that in itself raises another question of conflict of interest, because, a sitting president and his wife cannot run a foundation while in office in the first place.
Right.
That's a different, a whole chain of...
It's a whole different show, but I still want to make you touch on that, because this is not a conflict of interest. And I they do this for the benefits. I want make you really explain that, so that I do one for the benefit of the ordinary Sierra Leonean. Me and you know how that is a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
The ordinary Sierra Leonean, because they see the name Fatima Bio, Mada Bio, they don't understand how a private organization instituted before the president became president. Now they solicit money under an elected president for a foundation that was created before he became president. That first of all, when you are president, all of their activities then they cease. They cease until, or you they put on at the hands of, people them will not get nothing for do with government or governance for run them for you. But here is a situation where the state is being used to fund a private venture.
No, not only that. Using the status of her husband, you can do fundraising, but here is about saying, when I give me so amount of money, and this is what you get in return. So that now, there is exchange. We then call basically they peddle the influence of your husband. The law is clear that you cannot peddle influence. If you do that, then you don't violate the anti-corruption legislation. That's one aspect. But what make the thing so dangerous in itself, or we call it unbelievable or shocking, now the fact that the government already set up 2 accounts for the wife of the president, one with the central bank and one with the local commercial bank. And in this case, if the wife of the president, let's assume that she was raising this money genuinely for the support in activities, although you get more money in excess that she was using, enough for direct people they contribute to this fund for go pay na in private bank account, because when you say the foundation's account, the foundation is owned by her and her husband. So basically, they are using their status as president and wife for solicit money from business people and interestingly, not even business people alone, even government agencies. There's a record of government agencies paying. If you look, we've published the bank statement of the Office of the Chief Minister. Where you look the line expenditure details, you find out that there is money paid from the Office of the Chief Minister's account into the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation. So this range of illegalities and conflicts of interest, peddling of influence, chain of violations are there. So then we find out what more. We also state in that article where you just cite that we find out that all of these people who letters were written to, for example, some were asked to contribute 50 million, some even paid 100 million or more, okay? And all of this money that was paid by business people, business organizations, and even government agencies and government personalities into this Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation, we found no transfers, no transaction details that showed exactly, there was no evidence showing that this money was also transferred to any of the government accounts that were established for the purposes of funding the Hands of Our Girls campaign at the local commercial bank. And this money was in fact sent to the Guarantee Trust Bank, which is a private bank, GTB. So we published, along with that, letters showing the solicitation, letters also confirming payment of that. And also we have the financial record of that kind of activity. But we don't already demonstrate the solicitation, the peddling of influence, and also one of the people writing and saying, oh, I have confirmed, we don't pay the money at the GTB, the bank account, we will forwarding the receipt and the letter of payment at the same time. So this is one, but it doesn't stop with the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation. We had mentioned some time ago again that there's a similar kind of organization called JMB Women's Wing and Associates. This is supposedly a women's wing, supporters of the president and his wife, or a group of women and their associates and friends who support the president before he became to power. It's like a parallel women's organization within the SLPP that are supporters of the president. And they also have their own various contributions and fundraising activities that they've been doing that they lodge into their own separate accounts. When you look at all of these, there are, chains of illegalities, the movement of fund, the use of political office for solicit money and rake money all over the place. So but what is interesting is that even when they raise this money, like for 2019 alone, the Office of the First Lady get over 9 billion for the Hands of Our Girls campaign, including money that was supposed to be used to commemorate the anniversary of the launch of the Hands of Our Girls campaign, which they were soliciting money for and taking it to the Mada and Fatima Bio Foundation. So,
okay, what also I find interesting about this article, and fumble them, this not the last section, and we go to Mr. Chief Minister on no worry. What also I find interesting, where I want to make you explain to the people then, your article reveals say about 90% or almost 90% of the people them way is solicit funds from, they answer, they respond favorably. Some of them give the money we ask for, some of them give above, way above what they ask for. I not go want to go into the financial, for the name the money then right now, because that they go waste too much time. But some of them give what they ask for, some of them give in between what they ask for, and some of them give, as a matter of fact, most of them give way above what they ask for. But yet still, it still go back and take money from the the central fund. He still received $830,000 from the consolidated fund on top of all the money that they where he gets. How is this possible? Because it's like you eat your kapuya that like who is regulating, who is auditing? Maybe make her ask this question: who is auditing the First Lady?
Yeah, that is very important, because even when you look the audit service report of 2019, you find out they said the Office of the First Lady refused to be audited. They did not submit receipts and documents. That basically they did not allow the audit service for audit. I've had various government people, including people from the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, they talk about the Office of the First Lady is captured under audit. It's not captured under audit. The audit is clear in terms of the fact that these people refused to be audited. And they did the same thing. They had the same, in fact, in 2018, they had the same struggles with them. When we were investigating the public finance operations of the government of Salone, we learned at the time that the audit service was going back and forth with the Office of the First Lady regarding auditing of the funds, because at the time the Office of the First Lady felt that funds that were going to them should not be audited. And that is why they even tend to argue, or this argument that the Office of the First Lady is under the Office of the President. There's no such arrangement in the Constitution. There's no such, the wife of a president is just the wife of a president. There's no provision in our law that says the president getting your own imprest account. That's what people need to know. Imprest account, money that the president uses for imprest. Now they for supposed to pull in chop money and stuff like that for in wife. But the wife of the president has no right to have an account of her own where monies are to be allocated. And we have said that we'll check the bank records, and we've only discovered that the Office of the First Lady, what they call Office of the First Lady, that name, office, was first used by Madam Sia Kuruma. But the setting up of a bank account that is run by the wife of the president started on June 28, 2018. We've published that the first time when they opened the account was opened with a check, a government of Sierra Leone check that was in the amount of 2,980 million lodged into the Bank of Sierra Leone when the account was first opened on June 28, 2018. We've published these details. Nobody has been able to deny that. Nobody has shown that that account preceded. Going to the chief minister, make us just make this. I know we're not there, but might just make the difference.
Yeah.
The difference between the chief minister's account and the first lady's account is that the chief minister, what they call the chief minister's account that we published, in fact, that was the same account, bank account that the chief of staff was using.
Yes.
Okay. Under the previous regime for the last 10 years, you had a chief of staff
Yes.
Okay. The bank account where the chief of staff been they used then, the current chief minister continue for use, and installed
Yes.
to use them on August 27. That was when the first allocation, the first budgetary allocation went into the chief minister's account. That is why when we started publishing the record, we not published the previous record of the chief of staff, which we have. We just started with the government of Sierra Leone allocation on August 27, 2018. Then at the first time when a disbursement was made in the name of a chief minister, sent to that account. So, but still, when you check the name of the account, what you see is chief of staff. That's what you see.
Yes, exactly.
Which is not the case with the office of the first lady, because there was no preceding transactions before 2018 under the banner of. That's why the government has not come. If they can get a record, they would have published it. I will tell you by now.
Exactly.
We have challenged them to come up with that record. They haven't. They just keep saying the office of the first lady was receiving allocations. That is not to say there was nothing like the name office of the first lady. In fact, that umbrella title, I call it the NGOization of the wife of the president, the transformation of the wife of the president as an institution, as an organization, an organizational thing, was done under the days of President Nkrumah and was started by his wife, Madam Sia Nkrumah.
Exactly.
But the difference here is she never had, from the records that we've seen, we've not seen a record that shows that she received the same way direct allocation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund to that. What we've seen is that she worked with ministries, line ministries, for example, Ministry of Health, Minister of Social Welfare, even the University of Sierra Leone had a girls program in which they used the position of the office of the wife of the president, Madam Sia Nkrumah, at the time to carry out. And this is captured in some of the audit reports, but not in this fashion that we're talking about.
Exactly. I'm glad the way you make that distinction there, because now a distinction where everyone for make say, yes, Sia Nkrumah, the former first lady, been get programs, then we've been the run under but make we be clear, say she did not own an account specific to her. And no say this first lady, current first lady, say not to income create account, income meet account. But the truth is that account was non-existent. Now where income then creates that account there. That is not disputing the fact that Sia Nkrumah not been they get money and run programs them under your office. True, because we all saw that, we all know that. But as of the establishment of a separate bank account just for the office of the first lady, now under this first lady, so then they happen. And another thing when Mr. Ba point out what in the canto, now the fact that before waiting we now know as chief minister or office of the chief minister, we used to have office of the chief of staff. So that office of the chief of staff, they now then transition or remodel or rebrand in this current administration to office of the chief minister. So now the same accounts, and they use nothing, not change. It's just that, like I say, a researcher has their scope, they get the limitation in the side, say in scope now from this period to this period, and I in the look at. That is not to say in his research, he not go beyond and go look at what him in them predate or pre-exist. Now make we go to Mr. $3.4 million. So Mr. $3.4 million in 3 years, now the office of the chief minister. We see, say, one of the key responsibilities of the office of the chief minister, now for make sure, say, he monitor all of the government ministries, departments, and agency for make sure, say, wastage not there, for make sure, say, he close any gaps, usai wastage day, and indirectly, not to your office no more, he also directly accountable for any wastage or any kind of corruption or malpractices them where they happen na the different ministries, because that was his job. That is his job according to the duties them where they list for them. So the first question I go ask, according to you, has he done a good job so far?
Well, we have published our role as the Africanist press is to show basically how government ministries operate on a financial level. In this case, I think we have not just reported on the financial operations and activities and management of public finance by the Office of the Chief Minister. We've shown the public. We've published the transaction details. And interestingly, again, similar to the office of the wife of the president, or similar to the case of the wife of the president, nobody in the Chief Minister's office has denied the report and the details we've published. They have only tried to say it is normal. That is how things are run. In fact, we highlight that apart from this budgetary allocation, we also show that much of that money was spent on per diems by, through the international travels by various officials. We showed the officials who received these per diems and the transaction data. We did not make up this record. The record is straight from their own. They haven't denied it. They, in fact, said yes. They said per diems are legal. And we also showed that, in fact, 10 billion, almost $1 million of that amount that you're talking about was withdrawn cash.
Mm-hmm.
Or more than $1 million was withdrawn cash, predominantly by one individual.
Yes.
Jabi. So
yes.
we showed that. We've demonstrated that nobody has said no. They are just saying it's normal. Okay. We have, in fact, the Chief Minister issued a statement, not denying the report, but basically saying that it get a number of units under your own office. So the rationale of that kind of argument are for tell people in government, that departments say, if una say the money will receive plenty, because I am sure there are many people in government, other ministries, departments, and agencies who are not receiving the complete budgetary allocation in a year. If you remember, when the Chief Minister announced that the Minister of Finance was the best minister, the Minister of Finance said on television live that he's apologizing. He made an apology to the other government ministries and departments that, he's sorry for not allocating to them what their complete budgetary allocation. Some get only the first quarter, 2 quarters, or some get 3 quarters, some not get the complete a yearly allocation they're supposed to get. So when you read that press release, it's coming from this idea. The Chief Minister was not speaking to the public. He was speaking to other people in government that although I am receiving this huge amount of money for just administrative purposes, I also have 4 different units, including DSTI and all these other units we cite in the press release, basically to justify why he's receiving more money than other government ministries. That's the reason. That's amusing when we saw it. That's what we said. But coming back to your point, the money was spent without reference or regard to the public finance laws, procurement laws, and all of that. And these people also not deny. In fact, they went on record to say that their use of the money through sole sourcing, restrictive bidding without open bidding and open tender was authorized by the National Public Procurement Authority, which is supposed to ensure that procurement rules are followed. Then the same way the ACC defended or appears to have defended the Chief Minister, now so again the NPPA come out and begin defend the other one and defend the First Lady, this other one and can and defend the Chief Minister. So for every time you point, when we talk about timber, for example, towards the end, towards October, November to December, the Ministry of Finance came to their defense. And even a few days ago, the NRA, the National Revenue Authority, Director General was on radio defending and trying to justify that it was a mistake, it was an error. How can you violate a law that you've made up and say that? So they defend the company for refusing to pay taxes. Now we talk about illegal disbursement. The Anti-Corruption Commission is defending the Office of the First Lady, trying to go 14 years back to find antecedents to this situation, antecedents that will hardly exist. Then now we talk about the violation of procurement rules and regulations by the Office of the Chief Minister, the NPPA, we're supposed to be the agency we enforce compliance with saying that then give them the permission, not for follow the law, for make them do restrictive bidding. You're spending huge amount. In fact, one thing the people need to know, we cite in that report a critical thing, that 3 vehicles, Prado vehicles, were bought from Salman Motors without tender, without bidding. It's an expenditure that is close to 2 billion. Okay, nobody has denied that that was the case, and we said we have checked the record, and we are not sure whether all those 3 Prado vehicles were supplied. Okay, they did not deny that. They just said, oh, they were given the right to do that procurement, huge procurement of 3 Prado vehicles, almost close to 2 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
where nobody, it was not advertised, there was no competitive bidding, was hidden. And for the DSTI, and I also said, in fact, we also pointed out a critical point, we will not exploit, we will go for explore, the legality of the DSTI in the first instance, because the Directorate of Science, Technology and Innovation, very good idea, encouraging science, technology and development.
Yes.
We have a Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. So under normal circumstances, if you want to do a correct governance infrastructure, what ideally would have been the case is to take that Directorate of Science and Technology, which is supposed to encourage research in science and technology, and then put her under the Ministry of Education. But in this case, only the Director of Science and Technology is the one that's approved by Parliament. Now, DSTI as an institution, has no legal authority to also exist. Then they argue, say, the president get the right for create offices, subcommittees of the executive branches. But if that is the case, why would they even develop a bill for the establishment of a peace commission and try to go to the Parliament? But they have an institution which is not just staffed by people, they have staff that are recruited by DSTI, okay, paid money from the consolidated fund as salaries to the staff, okay, from government money. Then third, DSTI is giving contracts, consultancy arrangements, procurement, okay, with government money when it has no legal, it is not established by an act of Parliament. So these you cannot just elongate the powers of the president to appoint to also mean that the president can also set up government agencies.
The president cannot have blanket powers without checks and balances.
They have to go back and think about, for example, if the DSTI was just a cabinet committee, it's understandable, but it has its own organizational infrastructure, is operating like any other government agency, like the National Minerals Agency, like the Environmental Protection Agency, like all of these other, or NPPA and all these other agencies, but it's not the result of an act of Parliament. So which means that the same illegality that we're talking about in the office of the First Lady, we can talk about. So that is why you find out 40 to 50% of the expenditure details of the office of the Chief Minister is basically procurement and consultancy services and contracts given on behalf of, either by or on behalf of DSTI. If you check the expenditure details, that is something we have not highlighted, which that's why we throw out the record, because we want people to see. We're basically trying to see what the public and other people will see. But these are various angles and issues that you might read from this transaction details. A lot of infractions. So the Chief Minister, what makes this important? We're talking about an individual who is supposed to superintend other government ministries and ensuring that they oversee performance audits and anything that comply to the extent that this office of the Chief Minister or the Chief Minister is authorized to assess who is the best minister or who is the best ministry performing minister, to the extent that a few weeks ago, the same individual said the Ministry of Finance and even the Minister of Basic Education, the people who are operating these accounts, who are running these affairs, are the best ministers in government. So we have a cartel kind of a situation, for lack of a better word.
No, I find them really funny way at this very time where all of this they come out and people and they try for deliberate and try for find out what thing they go on and really do research and really be informed and engaged. That very term they accolades are being given to the very people who are at the center, who are at the center of all of these malpractices. I find them very a slap in the face of the Sierra Leonean people, honestly. That basically they're just taking us for a ride. They're just taking us for fools and for jokes. They're just taking us basically taking us to the car wash or taking us to the river to drink. but I won't even go inside. Fumble them. I go make the technical team play the interview from the NPPA. I believe is the director. For make we give context so that when we come back when Mr. Ba they explain and how you can call them pick apart, peel the onions of some of the thing them where this money associate so I go get a good starting point. Because in 2018 we noticed that the office of the chief minister mainly they engage in international consultancy, a little bit of per diem travel. And then in 2019, then Sidomin and proper, a lot of international consultancies. Now, so when they do a consultancy, then they pay you a 20% at the beginning. Towards the middle, they give you another 25%. And then when you're done, so then they pay you in installments. But then then they pay 70% up front, for job where they not see it, they're not even scrutinizing itself. 70% upfront. And what is that to say? Is that to say that we don't have capable Sierra Leoneans, local, ingrown businesses that can take on some of these jobs that, they don't take foreign countries then and don't put into the coffers and the taxes, of other countries then. So in 2019, we see a heavy consultancy, money being paid out. We see large sum of cash withdrawals. We see the repeated naming of somebody by the name of Dudley Cowan, where the name and Dudley Cowan say the entire then call her E. Cowan, where the entire then call her E. Cowan, where the entire then just call her Mr. Cowan, because they're not waiting for say again. We see somebody by the name of Siddiqui, Jabi, constant withdrawal. We see other, company, one particular company, they were, I go get Mr. Ba for talk, but because that company they was reoccurring. We see somebody they named by the name of Mr. Raymond, all of these people. For what? Cash withdrawal. So now we not get any tracking system. And then in that same 2020, we see also the misuse of Impress. Because when they can withdraw, they don't know waiting for do, then they go now Impress. And in 2020, we see the same pattern continues. But I want to go to the technical team for lady groundwork, make Mr. Ba take some break and make we self-listen, waiting the head of the procurement, waiting him in get for say in defense of the foolishness where they take place. I'll go to the technical team.
The Salone. We want to welcome the Chief Executive, the Procurement Office, the boss there, with Kaya this morning for look at processes and systems, and then different MDA there, where the Africanist press done the right. But good morning, Mr. Swari, Mohamed Swari, and welcome, Ibrahim Swari, sorry, and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salone.
Good morning, Asma, and good morning, the people of Sierra Leone.
We done the look at the publications from the Africanist press, in which many of them get for do with procurements and processes, how they purchase some of the things them we talk about. On a whole, how your office take this whole revelation from the Africanist press?
Well, I want to seize the opportunities for say thank you. Thank you to Chernoh and thank you to the people of Sierra Leone. I see victory. Victory in the sense, prior to this time, nobody pay attention to procurement or processes and procedure. And if in the bio-led government decide for allow prudency in terms of fiscal management and procurement being one of the hubs and the MPPA being the regulatory body, and would they try for make sure say the people of Sierra Leone really know about processes and procedure. Now they see Sierra Leoneans in general want to know exactly how the public money is spent. Then I go sit down there as victory, because not only when we all able to know how we money spent and if they are spent properly, then we get a very good nation, because you can collect all the money on earth for your nation, as long as they are not spent properly, then you still go always day outside you day. And so it means the news or what would you do, don't begin to get the kind of food we want, because that's the reason why we get MPPA hours, about the TV and the radio stations. And if today we don't begin to see people, they really talk about processes and procedure, what is that bringing to mind? That either people are listening or people don't start to read about what would they do. So for me, it's good. It's good for let people begin to talk about processes and procedure. And I go only want for encourage all Sierra Leoneans we want to talk about processes and procedure, for let them know say procurement is a discipline and highly disciplined. So you know, they just feel say where you read, you don't understand them. It's something you do up to PhD level. It's not just about you reading and you assume you don't sabi.
As you say, coming from members of the public and sets of people who just show interest in procurement and procedures where they happen at different government ministries, departments and agencies. But let we look into the ministries, departments and agencies them as well, because not for the first time this way we don't see publications them on people not they really follow procurement policies them, where they supposed for the follow, whether they purchase or they use government money as per law. We don't see year in year out the audit reports they come out. Other people them don't they write, but still people not don't they follow. Waiting at this problem where the NPPSF could don't identify by now, because it not new again for say people still we supposed for the follow na high offices, not they follow procurement procedures. Waiting at the problem.
In the first instance, I want to ask if the people where they follow really they look at the trend. We all know that this country say procurement has been a challenge, or the expenditure arm has been a challenge. Before this government kind of power, yes, that been there all over the place. And now what this government don't can 3 years, what is the trend? Are we narrowing the gap? Is the gap still wide? When you watch at audit report, the things that will frequently be the come up, are they still coming up? Is the regulatory body playing its role like before? Or are they doing things that they've not been doing before? A clear to this nation that, yes, when the BO-led government was campaigning, it talks say the block leakages. And when it gave me the position as chief executive, one of the things we knew, and I knew it was a challenge in the procurement. And a lot of abnormalities been there in terms of pricing. You go see somebody go buy computer in the Ministry of Health, one price, and another person buy now the other ministry different price. When I take over, one of the things I get huge support from the Ministry of Finance, and before ensure say we'll get uniformity in terms of pricing. I took over in June. This now be the third quarter. This now be my first price norm Whirlpool 2018. I take over and I've been third quarter, and when I take over, this now lay emphasis on I make sure say price norms start become a norm, and every MDA staff for follow them. So this price norm now law, and we don't make sure say all MDAs follow them. And in that same 2018, from June to December, we were able to have third quarter price norm and fourth quarter 2018. So why? Because we all know say people they raise concern about prices, the way that they bloat prices. So we put this in place and ensure say they are followed by. And from that time to today, we don't ensure say people follow the price norm.
So when we look at the publication of the Africanist press, just like where Chernoh be say 34 billion euros they use that for on procurement and irregular procurement. Some of them revelation they are where they come out where they name the office system and the procurement process system. You office know about them?
Yeah, I want to set some things then straight here. I'm not to go to any office. I just want to put things straight as a regulatory institution. When MDAs want for buy, do they come to us seek clearance? Yes. Then they come to we for seek clearance. And when we then seek clearance to we, you get different methods than what they use. for the procurement. Yeah, you can do the default method when a open tender, and at the same time, the MPPA get the powers. I just want to read sections of the Act. Section 14.3 of the Act. Subject to Section 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46 of this Act, the authority may endorse and give approval for the use by a procurement committee of a procurement method or methods other than competitive bidding, where the approval requirement of the procurement entity is in the opinion of the authority merits such endorsement and approval. Now, me sitting as chief executive, the law give me the mandate in an event, an MDA want for buy any item in this country, and see the level of urgency or not urgency, he writes to me and asks, say, okay, I want to do sole source, I want to do restrictive tender, I want to do open tender, reduce for me instead of 4 weeks, reduce for me for 2 weeks, reduce for me for 3 weeks. I have the mandate and power based on this law for approve. So procurement is not just by open tender. You can do sole source is approved. As long as it comes to my office and we look at the merit of your justifications of approval, it is applied and approved by law.
So in this case, the chief minister in office, where we see the Africanist press rights boards, and the state say over 30 billion euros they will then use on procurement, where documents are not able to lay hands on them as to how then we do that procurement. The owner office aware of that procurement, say where the office of the chief minister do?
Some few months in July, the office of the chief minister wrote to me with a minute requesting approvals for various things then. Yeah, I want to just tell you, permanent secretary, office of the chief minister, State House, 30th July, this was my reply. Request for no objection to use restricted bidding for the construction service, purchase of vehicle, replacement of furniture fittings and IT equipment in the office of the chief minister and its IT directorate. This was approved by me. Yeah, and in this same letter, I just want to read down. Based on all the above, MPPA endorses the use of restricted bidding in accordance with Section 41B and 42(2) of the Public Procurement Act 2016. You may ensure that the selected bidder do not share common ownership and that there is no collusion among the bidders also. Above all, due diligence must be paid to prices quoted in the MPPA most recent price norm as well as the prevailing market price. So even when we give them approval, we tie them to a price norm. So every of the purchase will happen within that procurement process was tied to this price norm when about fourth quarter.
So Mr. Swaye, you make strongly on enforcing the price norms, but when a purchase is there cannot be done, the price is different. So how you they enforce them price norms there?
That's where most times people don't understand. It's not possible for we give approval to any entity when we realize the commonly used items within our price norm, that price is far above the prices. It's not possible.
You can monitor
everything that comes. We pay attention to prices. I want to be very, very honest here. We pay attention to prices and we look at items by items. So yes, we not tell you say sometimes if in order now we come with price norm. If in order now price norm, then it becomes a challenge. Then make if you watch every price norm will come out. Every price norm will include other items that will say in a challenge them. It started with third quarter 2018 and up to this 2021. If you watch the first publication we'll do and this publication we'll do now, you find out say from the first publication to this publication now, we don't get more than 100 or 150 new items included in the price norm.
So, sir, you think say the Africanist press pull this because they show them documents them where they show the prices where they calls where they say now the prices they inflated.
Can we, if we go now to this approval again? Yes, I gave an approval for the purchase of vehicles and IT equipment. In the office of the presidency, there are certain things where, of course, the law give we the mandate for give restrictive or sole source. the law because it's boiled around security-related issues. Like some of the IT issues we then do, and the minutes we come to me was clearly for the office of the president in setting the IT infrastructure. And if then they set the IT infrastructure for the office of the president, of course that is security. I will not allow them to go in an open tender. So when they send them, I read the minutes, I saw the justification, I gave the approval. And for the vehicles in question, those vehicles, when they ask we that they want for buy vehicle for the directorate of IT, in we price norm, the proud way they at that time in we price norm is 580 million. This price norm, fourth quarter 2018 price norm. Then when you watch at the prices, when look the price now, this is the contract signed. Because when they sign the contract, every contract they sign, they send to us copy of that contract. Yeah. In the prices, when they do shopping, when they ask for this approval, then do window shopping. And then when they do window shopping, their prices, of course, be slightly below the price. Say, for instance, the Prado in question, in our price norm, it's 580 million. In their own total purchase, the price is here now 564,375,000. You can see this is the contract. So yeah. So if we don't do a whole market research, we don't bench the price at fair market price is 580 million, and then somebody do a window shopping, then a day slightly above us. Can we approve or not? We can approve. So as far as me know, for the purchase of the said vehicles, yeah, approval was received from the Ministry of Finance, because I saw all these correspondence when they replied to me, when they sent request to me. They sent a letter to the Minister of Finance for funding. The Minister of Finance replied them. I have the copies, and then they had a meeting and agreed on the justifications why they need these items in question.
Then why are you the talk about? So they include the 3 Toyota Land Cruisers.
This is the Toyota Land Cruiser we are discussing.
Of the Chief Minister said they buy for the STI or for the office of the Chief Minister.
Can I read
which one you refer to?
Can I read here? Sale agreement made in October. One, yeah, to who? Between Salma Motors, represented by Hassan Mohammed Salim. Is it not Salma that you're discussing? This same Toyota or the Prado where I saw in the report is this same contract that I have here. So I'm talking specific on this contract. And as far as me know, you understand, did they ask for approval? Yes. And do we have the caveat that gives us that mandate? Yes. You go to section 14.3 of the Act, gives me the power for approve if endorse and approve any method where somebody they use if we think as a regulatory body a day we think. And if this price nominal law, we don't say already then price is here, we don't do we own general in the shopping now law, then somebody want for buy a request to we say I want buy motor direct sourcing, and they will tell you say if you buy direct sourcing, make sure you use the price as a tag. Then the person go out, he go get in the shopping and get below we. Can we approve it? Yes.
So let me look at NPPA saving. The government started inside 2019. You've been inside an interview about how you save governments from losing 400 billion loans. So waiting you able for save government inside 2020, because we don't go now into 2021 with all the issues there we always they come out where they show weakness in the system.
Very soon we're going to see a bulletin come out for the last quarter of 2020, and that bulletin you see how much we protect and prevent government from getting into contracts that are not good. The things we are going to encourage everybody. Sometimes what is happening in Sierra Leone, not only bad news people they spread. We don't get time for even look at the job of others. Look at the institutions the way don't they. I want for just take case in point. For me, MPPA, I took MPPA with just 37 staff, and within that 37 staff, few don't go, skill and unskilled labor, skill and unskilled. And as I speak now, we are about 112 to 113 to do the job for Sierra Leone. So if you see the wages don't increase, it's not just coming from the Ministry of Finance. Even we at the MDAs, when I took over as chief executive, I cannot run with 37 people. Even with the 100 people, 112 people that I have now, it's still not enough to regulate and monitor procurement across this country. For all people forget efficiency and effectiveness. No, I'm coming. I heard from my brother saying that they give the politicians bloated salaries. Sometimes you criminalize every Sierra Leonean way they work for the people of Sierra Leone. If I'm working as chief executive and I have a lot of tax to do, then say they pay me 20 or 40 or 50 million. Do I really, am I supposed to have that kind of salary? Do I work for that salary? Why you want to criminalize me salary? And then if you say, now only we they don't get appointment, now they get them surprised. No, I don't know what finance, I don't know the amount of people finance don't recruit. I just want to set example for MPPA. I started that institution with 37 staff. Today we are 112. Right. And out of that 112, every of those staff are paid from the Ministry of Finance. So, it's not from my pocket.
So the NPPA concern with the Africanist press, anytime they publish, the most some Simons they will get for do with processes now procurement we not go the right way according to what they can investigate. You office worry about that?
The only concern I get, I want to let my brother know say it is only the NPPA that has the power to interpret this law. If you go to section 14G, now we get the expertise in, if not to win a court. So I'm not against him doing the investigative journalism, but my door is widely open. At any point in time, he want to talk about processes and procedure in this country. Any MDA, if he gets to a website, enable for COT once day, let it call me directly. I will respond to him. Let's just give me text, say, this is Chernoh, I want to investigate this one. I'll give him every detail he wants to know. Because one of the core values of procurement is transparency, fairness, and value for money. So for me, like this publication where he do, I get concerned with him. He's a young man like me. I was expecting like the investigative journalism way they do. You have a regulatory body in this country. Before it gets conclusions, since he knows somebody there where they regulate, and I think we don't meet before.
So what you get for do now, because the process is still continue for come up now, the investigation the way it did do. You get your price norm, your systems now then MDAs there, so now one big issue. What you office they do for say indeed all procurement processes go through the right process before procurements are made.
Asma, I want to let people just not look at the downside of procurement process in this country. What are the mileages that we've achieved? You cannot compare the mileages that we achieve now to the downside. Now, every processes from what this government can and took over, we do end-to-end review. Why you think we talk about Office of the Chief Minister, Office of the Chief Minister, they give you evidences? Because every activity we start, as long as it deal with volume money, yeah, it comes to our office, we review them and ensure.
So it's not only about office of the chief minister, like all other publications where you don't make with regards procurement. You office aware.
We know aware, and that's where I'm asking him if you want for really give the people of Sierra Leone a balanced report about processes and
aware in.
Okay, so Fambulem, I know say this na be a lengthy interview. But now so back they can give Mr. Batten. I know say it don't take the points them one by one as the NPPA, because here when it comes to the office of the chief minister, a lot of the things that will happen outside of the PADM, the use of impress for travel, a lot of the issues them and not following procedures and regulations and whatnot, it gets for do directly with the NPPA and with the work of the NPPA. Now that make we listen to waiting the boss, the Alagba, that the NPPA ain't get for say. Then now they can't give the man where do the investigation for say. He said they not, Mr. Babi for don't reach out to if for don't ask him, because outside of the court, they're the only people where sabi interpret procurement laws. To which I say absolutely not. First of all, procurement laws for the most part is an international standardized law, which means say anybody will study procurement, anybody will get an understanding and knowledge of the implementation, the policies, rules and regulations of procurement can interpret the procurement law whether you're in a country or not. You don't need for the inside a particular country for understand the procurement law because it's a standardized international law where they govern most places then around the world. But make I not take by Mr. Bainte, make a left for making answer the questions.
Well, I think say much of it's not just a defense for the violation of procedure, systems, and process. And this is the thing. The question is, waiting government for being lost in opening up a bid, advertise, say we want to buy 3 Prado, advertise, put them out, people then submit bids, compete for them. And if really not just vehicle you want, you just want to buy vehicle for your office, for a particular government department, you want to buy office, you want to buy vehicle for them, or you want to buy computers, you advertise the contract, people bid, then go through competitive bidding, transparent process, you select the most, maybe we the time to justify, say this individual owner handpick and get a contract, offer on a less, because that's a claim. When you check even the amount, we're talking about close to 2 billion, okay, for 3 vehicles, even more than the amount of money that was taken out of the account and paid to Salman Motors is more than the amount of money that he is talking about. That's one aspect. The second aspect of that, there is no evidence that all the 3 vehicles were submitted. He did not answer that. But this are the 2 they want for established. They have not denied any of the details we have published. Okay, they not deny, say, we report, say, they bought 3 vehicles without open tender and advertisement as required by the law. What they have said is that they have another law that authorizes them to do restrictive bidding. Why would you want to do that? Because you want to select a preferred supplier. Why? What is the arrangement between you and that supplier? Like different discussions. So all these companies, we also say you don't buy computers through the same process. You don't deny. So they have, every time you point out some of these infractions, violations, they will cite a law that tends to justify their violation of another law. Okay, or they're saying a mistake. For example, we caught these people who they made a law around how much an exporter of timber for pay. That was an obvious violation because they have no other law to cite. They're saying a mistake. No, not a mistake. It's not possible for make somebody's help. So in that case, they had no law to depend on. Okay. Now here, then they justify the restrictive bidding, sole sourcing when they had the opportunity. And it's a government about transparency and accountability. Why you go through all that particular process? So for me, I think the most important statement coming out in response to the NPPA was from the Budget Advocacy Network, which is a consortium of civil society organizations engaged in transparency. Then remind NPPSA, even when the audit report released their audit, much of what they talk about is some of these issues and how much money is lost as a consequence of some of these violations. The only reason why you go restrict a bidding because you get a preferred bidder of your choice. And for the most part, that preferred bidder is somebody you share either an economic interest in or some other kind of interest, favored interest. So that one, we all know the reasons why they do this. It would have been a different conversation for me if they had said, when a report say we purchase 3 Prado, when I say we not put them on open tender and when we advertise them, they will present evidence of an advertisement, evidence of an open bid, evidence of competitors for that bid, and why would I select this other one? But they have not said that. So which means they just justified what we published. And the reason why they operate that way, it's obvious. This is supposed to be the minister with in charge of enforcing all of this compliance. Why in the violate the law and they seek an explanation. There's another side to soiree where people need to go back. Make them go back to the Commission of Inquiries, the reports, the COI, and all of this. Now, some of them issues they had problem with. The granting of contracts to friends and cronies, lack of advertising of contracts, violation of procurement procedures, systems, and processes, and all of these things. And the chunk of all that is in the GTT report, in the COI, the Commission of Inquiry hearings, even soiree, is on record to tell the commission that he was fixing, as a procurement officer, he was fixing documents for his bosses for justify the violation of, a cover up the violation of systems and procedures. And here is a man now presenting a document again saying he gave an authorization to the chief minister to undertake procurement of over 30 billion money spent without regard, not a one time. This is the way it has been ongoing, and it gets worse. Now, put aside this consultancy, systems, procedures, procurement, take what we have identified as irregular financial activity, the withdrawal of cash, the issuance of checks of over 50 million, 60 million, 100 million, 150 something million, consistently to the tune of 10 billion, at least, withdrawn by individuals within the office of the chief minister. This, how do you explain that in the general scheme of systems and procurement and the use of public funds, under which law the public finance regulations or laws will authorize that kind of financial activity of our government operate? People, they withdraw 2-3 times in a week, 60 million in a week, 70 million in a week, 200 million in a week, 250 million in a week. What are you doing? And most times when you look at the dates, now go check the banks that will publish. When you check the dates, you find out that most of these withdrawals are taking place on a weekend or a day before the weekend or on a Friday. It happens for the most part on Fridays or on Thursdays, a day before the close of the week or the last business day of the week, which means this money is withdrawn for the weekend. Why? Is government operating on the weekend? So what kind of expenditure? So I think I will invite the people who are listening and people of Sierra Leone generally to go forget about what the Africanist Press has, our own analysis about this kind of financial operation. Take the bank statements that we have published. By the way, nobody has denied they are genuine, they are factual transaction details.
Right.
Check all of this and read them for yourself and arrive at your own conclusion and ask yourself, is this the way a government is supposed to operate? Is this the way the people, these individuals in power promised the people of Sierra Leone, the way they said they're going to run government? But every time you talk about this, they will say, oh, that's what government made it run before. The previous president made take this amount of money. Or in the case of the first lady, we show this amount and they say, oh, we have to go back to see which other first lady. So they always have an explanation, either to say it's a mistake, as they did with the timber export levy taxes that were not banked, and all of this. So the lack of sincerity and hypocrisy on the part of people in charge of the state is what is mind-blowing. And so completely the opposite. And why, in fact, this kind of work is important is because it now brings the people closer. You understand? It puts in the hands of the public evidence of how government finance, public finance, is being used. And it's upon the people of Sierra Leone and everybody who is a friend of Sierra Leone, including international partners who sometimes support our who give budgetary support 40% or 50% or thereabout of our budget supported by what you call donor money, to look at these records and even ignore our own analysis, because we, on our own analysis, we've analyzed, looked at records, and you get 1 million ways of analyzing that this evidence we've presented. For us, that's why we have put it out in the public here. When I look at the statement, we could see it for ourselves. So a few days ago, somebody called me and said, oh, Paddy just called me. He said, even they work for DSTI. In fact, they all go Estonia. He said, we draw 4 times. He said, exact, they counted 4 times. The same time they will go. He said, even not miss. I said, oh, how would we miss these things? So for that individual, in fact, it was mind-blowing to see that what the individual thought was secret that is captured in some of these reports. The other, I see another person we interviewed testified that, oh, they will just give me this check, no more, go cash and bring the money back to them. In fact, 500,000 just they give me.
Wow.
So these are individuals who we testify. Some of the evidence, I keep saying, some of the evidence we have of these kind of operations, we have published 10% of it or 15% of it, because now we've gotten to a point where we say, okay, let's give the people the actual data and see what kind of conversation emerges from this kind of situation. Some people are looking at the statements to see if they have somebody they know, and then they see the person, oh, okay, we don't see Maria Tufino. I know, and I mean, but they call it, I see name, he says, yes, yes, Almamina true. And I true, they talk, so it's not magic.
Right.
Finance, this is transparency. We have to know how people are using our national money, how the national treasury is being used by individuals who are entrusted that responsibility. And these individuals are not doing us favor, because if somebody is saying, I'm paid 50 million, we are not criminalizing your salary. We are basically saying that if it doesn't make sense for a financial secretary to be paid 100 million when a nurse who is an essential worker is receiving, this one is getting $10,000. This other person is getting
peanuts.
Okay, pittance. Now, if you want for talk, say that because of your professionalism, because I hear these people keep talking about, I get 2 master's degrees, I get 3 master's degrees, I get 5 master's degrees. How about the professor who is teaching you at the university?
How about your work experience?
No, let's forget about, you have a professor who is when a professor in the university that's responsible for training economists, for training what you call procurement officers, for training all these people, that professor is paid less than 20 million. Okay, and the cameraman of the president, this photographer that's a state house, is paid 21 million, more than the university professor.
Yeah.
What kind of moral conscience you have to justify your salary in this kind of situation? How can you say the financial secretary, for example, earns a salary a month where you check, there are 100 people you can check in the Ministry of Finance, ancillary staff, some called senior economists, who are receiving less than 2 million loans. This is a single individual. I mean, these people should be ashamed to even brag about these things. So now, for example, what is for me interesting in what everything that Suare has said is the fact that he said he take over the procurement authority with little over 30 staff. Now he has over 100 staff. It comes straight to what we talked about, that this administration has grafted, they've incorporated a lot of political appointees on the public payroll with hard pressure on the wage bill, which means they employ their own party members, party supporters, party youths, family and friends. We just saw one. For example, you have the former ambassador of Sierra Leone or High Commissioner of Sierra Leone to Kenya was the brother of the chief minister. The brother that passed away, you appoint the daughter or whatever of the Speaker of Parliament with no diplomacy, nothing. Yeah. So this kind of, they will talk about, it is the right of the president to appoint. It's the right of the president to graft someone on the public payroll and develop for them crazy salary. You have consultants who are paid $300, $400 a day in Sierra Leone. A day. Some people getting $500 a day. And these people, they get the courage for come on television and talk about, say, we have added more teachers on the payroll. Now, the 100 staff, which we already talk about, are these ones doctors or nurses? So even in your own admission, they try to justify why you need more staff. You don't already, along the way, justify what we are talking about, that the number of appointees that they flooded into the public service don't increase the amount of money we would spend in paying staff, in paying all of this. But it comes down to one thing. Now, if you get the authority for even sole sourcing, that's say people like not for comply with the procurement regulations, why do you even need 100 staff? Because it means just give these people blanket right for just procure how they feel like, because you have a law to justify that. That means you don't need all these other appointees. Because if you need 100 people for run the procurement authority, it means you have to ensure that you have people who follow the books in departments and ensure that compliance is made. But if you go sit down at your office as the director or head of public procurement and then authorize the blanket use of government money without open sources and open tender, open bidding and all of competitive bidding, you do restrictive bidding, then why do you need a lot of people on the payroll who are supposed to be procurement officers? So
exactly.
It defeats the logic of his argument. So these people, I think we don't arrive at a point now where the people of Sierra Leone, we need for begin talk about how government run. I think for me, what I think is important in this whole thing about giving people access to the utilization of public money, for me people and see exactly how their taxpayers' money is being spent by these individuals. It's because now people will begin to know exactly how government function. And in that process, again, they'll be able to challenge these individuals who think they are smart enough, they are educated enough, because if you can say you are the only individual that has the competence to interpret what is written down, ABCs, what is written down, because you think, say, when you say Africanist press, we are just journalists who just write. No, we are also educated people. Among our group of people, we have economists, we have procurement officers, we have people with knowledge of statistics, we have people with knowledge of history, people with knowledge of political science, with systems governed. That's why when we write, you say you have not denied anything that was pointed out. You just found a crooked way of interpreting the legislation to justify why you did not follow the law.
Exactly.
And we don't have to go to that point, because the point is you promise transparency, you promise accountability, you promise to close leakages, to end all of these things which you identified. Now, latest thing I read from another newspaper, online newspaper, the Salone Telegraph, is that now the chief minister is shifting the burden, saying now I'm not responsible, now the permanent secretary not responsible because
right. Yes. So a burden, and we go cancel down. They make
all of these things. I think then they insult the intelligence of Sierra Leoneans, and our people are smart enough to know these things. They are smart.
That's right. That's right. We go cancel down there very soon. I get a few more questions then for ask in this thing before we wrap them up, including 40%. Guys, listen to this: 40% of the budget allocation to the office of the chief minister, 40% of that money they was used in per diem and travel per diem. Just imagine that 40%. Anyways, make I go to the caller. When I get 2 minutes, they take 5 calls today. Because after we're done with Mr. Bat today, the other programs, then we'll go sit down and really peel the onions one by one, whilst they fire the other team them, and then we go come back and can sit down back and talk for time. But only 5 calls for tonight, 2 minutes per caller, and then make I give Mr. Batem, make it really chow the book for we small. Okay, so I will go to the caller. Caller, waiting on your name and also you the call from, please.
Hello, okay. Thank you so much. This is Salone. I call from Salone, Kenima Eastern Province of the Port of Salone. The last time
thank you so much for staying up. Thank you.
I talk say Chernoh and demand this. The allegation they make, where sometimes they post on a Facebook page, when you go they become critical of the allegation there, and they block you. So I'm not sure about really comment on this particular one. I say number one. Then secondly, I want to register my disappointment in the moderator, because it seems say whatever Chernoh they say in all the allegation, when I not take her for be the gospel truth, because they repeatedly use the word exactly. And as a moderator of this program or radio program, not for become a judge. You know already judge. Now I see they say why they give accolade to the people there where they already they indict. They say so not say are disappointed. So all this, and they say the moderator become a judge. So that I'm disappointed in that. Going further, now the expert in procurement not clear the air. So I don't feel so we'll go further without this because he's the expert. He don't talk for talk. Exactly what happened, I don't do. But Chernoh back say the procurement officer.
Mr. Caller, I beg technical team. The technical team, I know say the caller they call from Sierra Leone, but also when we there, we need to dispel certain things. Then Mr. Caller, According to you,
Yeah,
you
they
say the
listen.
head of the technical procurement. I want to hold you there just because so that we clear this. Not to Ina the only person who sabi interprets the procurement rules and regulations. I want all you there just because Naina the head of the procurement department at Salone not mean for saying na in one grain na this one sabi interpret procurement rules and regulations. Procurement rules and regulations can be interpreted by anybody within the procurement industry in any part of the world. So make we get that straight. You can go on.
You're quite right. But as far as Salone level is concerned, then no more for talk of procurement, because there's people that flout procurement rules. And you can correct and say, no be so. You might go through procurement rules. So we're not for argue that. Because as far as Salone level is concerned, then no more would they listen to in terms of procurement. If somebody broke procurement rules, then the forecast clear the air, clear the air. So we're trying about say the money defense. So no one says this, and would that be supposed for council corner? No other person is supposed for council corner area. Only the chief procurement officer, never for talk on that area. And that air am going to come out. Now it talks say why the AC forced to talk say they go far back in 40 years. So it is not say they don't investigate, only a probe into the money they go to the first lady account, the current first lady, or how they do how they use her. They say also they go far back. Oh no, how the money be the car. If they can the right to it and the user the right to it, what is wrong about that? Like if they say they go back far back for no, how the business is set. They also say the ACC also defend it. Who said the ACC defend it?
But okay, thank you very much, caller.
Evidence counter. But it's unfortunately we not say they agree with them 100%. No, not for this. So the program for good. So this program just credibility. We don't make the credibility at stake. That everything the man they talk, they say exactly, and you are disappointed in the actual way they give to the people. No, it's not go for go. So I thank you too much.
Okay, I go say thank you very much to that caller there. Before I go to the next caller, I just want to say something. Mr. Ba, they publishing article then, right? I don't read each and every single one of the publication then. I don't go through all of the financial statements them where it publish one by one, line by line, line by line by line by line, names by names by names. As well, they follow up all of the rebuttals then by the current administration. Now that make when Asidon Ayaso are not just they say, okay, Mr. Ba said this, are also they take waiting them being come as their own evidence or the official position of the state and are they play them. So if I don't do all of that day and say, okay, now this the states they say, now so you they say you explain, because they don't give them position. Instead they can explain from whose side in the right from. I think that is how you do fear analysis. For you to sit there and call me biased, I don't know what I'm being biased about. I have no bone to pick in this. The only bone I have to pick in this is that I want for see Salone for go better. And if you were the call, say just because the procurement manager or director say, na so if for be so therefore na inomo una de listen to, I am sorry to say this is why we find Sierra Leone at the situation where we find Sierra Leone, because una they take people they word them hook, line and sinker, una not they take time for educate una self, for find out the truth for una self, for read these articles, for read these guidelines, for read these rules and regulations and see what's in there inside it. Just now una don't hear in so when Mr. Batok say, I may be the face of this publication when it comes to Sierra Leone, but I work with a team of people, a team of knowledgeable experts, including procurement experts then. So what are you trying to say? That those procurement experts, their knowledge, not all water, now just waiting on Mr. Suarez say now we for drink and that's it? I am sorry, no, that's not how democracy works. That's not how government institutions are run. You get to hold the government and you get to hold institutions to check and balances. And that is what I am here to do. Holding the institution, holding them, doing checks and balances. Also, we see loophole, they call the loophole. Mr. Swale might have a knowledge in procurement. That doesn't mean Matilda here, if I take the procurement book, I read them and not go understand. Maybe I will not understand, the nitty-gritty interpretation. But that is where we have people who study the law. That is where we can set up a committee of people with this knowledge and background. And make I tell the viewers then, I will have someone with a law background and someone with a procurement background. We get for Sidon Ayaso, and we get for look into this law, and we get for talk about so if even self we know they talk about the expertise embedded into the team of Mr. Ba, make we look from an outside perspective and see what's in the happen. But the one thing we should not do is to take people's word, hook, line, and sinker, and run with it. We should always probe further, and we should always read, do our own research. That is very important. Now I will go back to the next caller. Caller, waiting at your name and also you call from.
I know, I'm in our brother, Stephen. Hey.
Tell God, thank you. What do you get for we this evening, 10?
I just say thanks to the gentleman, Mr. Chernoh. I think they do well. Though some of we want to be convinced beyond what they do right now, getting convinced is when you get for continue this to whichever regime get for follow next, because in some ways, Rwanda used to be a politician, we know every day part of the NDA, whether it was an alliance or so. So over the years, they feel the metamorphose into now being an independent journalist. We applaud them for that. We want for the better. Well, let's alone better, So anything way for stand as a, stumbling block so that we not go happy, But in a nutshell, I don't call one time partisan program. I tell you now, we say they happen at Salone. It will always continue for happen. Whether SFP commodity run or APC can, it will continue for happen. Why? I don't tell you the last time. Every behavior, they function within a context. The country, we get a context, and people they don't know. Whether you change the entire system under the entire civil servants, the entire administration, bring new person at the same thing. Why? Because we get a system where they self-perpetuate within they go on, The young sudden, then they assimilate into the same culture, because I mentioned something else. Salone don't begin get sense. Salone will get sense. But yeah, Salone we one of the things we get for go in our country, but some of holding overseas. We get for good raise of a campaign. We get for decondition people their mind. People their mind. The politicians don't do a political surgery in the minds of the people. Look what they have. The one where they na APC, na then gladly, with this way they go on, so then gladly, The one they na SFPP, even though where they know, the one they will be they speak harshly against the ills of APC. Today, then they speak remotely, more mutedly, if ever not at all, because now they own the lady, not when it comes to that, then they okay, not to corruption to do. Anybody will come after they say which one, Of course, Mr. Babu Kumando is right now, so I don't understand, the context. And APC, I don't like it. But the question at the end of the day, Salone, if not APC, SFP, they cause the problem. What to make the electorate to go with this say they're smart, then they look up to them party again. Right now, like that thing to get rid of ASFP. They count, but APC they come, but APC don't come, APC don't.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. I said 2 minutes, so last 3 calls to go. Caller, waiting at your name and also you the call from. Hello, caller.
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead. We're listening. Waiting on your name.
Yes. My name is Dr. Johnson from the United States. I've been listening to your program quite a while, and the issues that are going on in Sierra Leone. I'm from Sierra Leone originally. Came to the United States in the 80s and did my studies and everything. But the political climate in Sierra Leone is causing all the disparities that are going on. For instance, if a law is broken, as long as it's in my favor, why fix it? Benefit from it, leave it as it's broken, and pay no attention to it. Now, how can you approve the buying of vehicles with no invoice? Invoice is what determines what you're going to spend. But if you give your approval in the interim, anything can be added to it as leakage. Now, in Sierra Leone, we do not have any digital footprints whereby approvals are done according to the rule set by the law of the land, which is the Constitution. Policies are drawn because of the Constitution, and then you got processes that comes from the drawing of those policies. And you got rules and meditations that need to be followed. If those rules are not followed, that are laid down by the Constitution, nobody is going to respect it. Now, there's no respect in Sierra Leone for the Constitution. Anybody coming in does what they want. You're talking about the system of government that are co-equal, executive, legislative, and judiciary. We don't see that in Sierra Leone. The president embodies all the rules and regulations. Whatever he says goes. Now, how can democracy function when the bigger guy can do whatever he wants, but the little guy is denied of their own rights? So, we have come to the United States and acquired knowledge, but they don't want us there. That's why they've kept us out of the rules.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Hopefully you can call at the other program when we do the analysis of the show and other things them and they juxtapose other things. They make her go to the next caller. Caller, waiting on your name and who say the call from. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Okay, if we know they get that call, they make we put the other caller through, please. Caller, waiting on your name and say the phone.
Hello, my name is Abdullah Sisi. I call from New Jersey, US.
Okay, what do you get for we receiving time? 2 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, Matilda and Mr. Chernoh. I just want to thank you first of all for this interesting program. And I want to I want possibly pray for Mr. Ba every day and any well-meaning Sierra Leonean make them succeed in their work and defense for bring the wrongdoings of we elected officials them to light. But this is not a problem we not to today begin. It's so painful to some of we. It has to break in when we see some of the information, and not to just because of the information me frustration or broadcast. Now the public reaction, especially from the one that they support the people that within our leadership at the moment. And not get any problem. Not bad for we support we leaders and the one that will favor, you don't even need for hide for do so. But when you look at somebody, it's not to say not get the ability for think and see the difference between waiting somebody they make up as a story and waiting really they happen. Not just that it deliberately, purposefully they refuse for even accept yes they exist. Just for talk in favor of the one that we they support. It's very painful, and at the prelim Mr. Ba continue, pray to God continue to give him the strength and all it takes for protect them and give them all the knowledge we need for continue in this work. And I know they say it will only happen to this particular one because some people will say, oh, this is my APC person they called so. Well, it continue to happen for the rest of the existence of the country. Because some of for most small, all the story out there is on a so big area, for most small, up to this point. Look at the very first caller from Tenima. It's sad for a from somebody like that one they say, even when they get the fact, they say as far as Salone level is concerned, what does that mean? That's not a sad statement as far as Salone level is concerned. What is it about Salone level? So Salone really not fit for match up with countries that we people and they admire today in the world. It's sad. This is some of the kind of reactions they will get from people. We didn't have beaucoup WhatsApp forum.
Okay, caller, you can call again next week or another time when we go, do analysis of this particular segment. I will take the last caller for tonight. Caller, waiting on your name and who say you call from, please.
This is Mohammed, the call from Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to tell the Africanist Press thank you, and Mr. Bab, thank you very much for the work on that they do. The 1 point we want to point here now the case of when they try to compare the 4 years, when they compare like the past first lady then for investigate. Mr. Bab don't talk this over and over. See, there is no way, no account where they find out say the previous first lady then gets. But you still get sympathizers them of this particular government. They bring in that same issue, say what's in bad pan for go back and investigate for 14 years. Why we not go tackle the present still where they can go on right now? We tackle the problem right now. Let them investigate what's in they say right now the problem. Let them investigate the one for say them go back 14 years. And Mr. Badon talk over and over in different forums them. Say to your investigation. There not see no accounts we get for do with the previous first lady there. So I just want to thank you for many people understand this, and I go wish for Mr. Bar for just stress this one like most of the people who bring that particular issue. May Mr. Bar say once and for all that this issue tell them see there was no other account from the previous first ladies, and are the only one this. And so we want Francis Benkefala for investigate this particular one. We don't want to make go back and try to know what's in the past thing. I thank you very much. I recall, this is Mohammed from Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to all of the callers, them and whatnot. You see, I will reserve my comments for the end, because I really get something for say, and I really get something for say to the Sierra Leonean people. But I'll do that at the end. Make I go to Mr. Ba, make Mr. Ba respond, and then we'll try for round up.
Yeah, I think say we done for make we not repeat yourself. Make I just tell the caller we express concern about the fact say a block whether I a block or whatsoever. But this started make up. Since I think this is a very good opportunity, make I just address this question. My page, okay, the Facebook page or any other page run by any in the name of the Africanist Press, including even the website, you're free for make comment if you want to make comment, but make a comment in a responsible way, because I have, for example, on my personal Facebook page, I have about 5,000 people. Where already did I get over more than other 5,000 where they watch waiting. There are other people who not even did the page, we can just can't check. Some are Sierra Leoneans, some are non-Sierra Leoneans. Okay, can insult, can do my because na my page. You expect say I go left from there. Go insult my audience. It's not about me, because for me, you are the receive audio messages, are the receive text messages, are the receive me an inbox messages. I have said there was going to be a time, this and Tubaku, where I go publish some of these things. Few days ago, a group of people they called me, they threatened me, said they go hunt me down, they go make so. I compile with my course, they all kind of course, I compile some of their messages and report them to some human rights groups and other for protection organizations. Because of the some of Anacrio, they don't understand, and they had to find someone in our region in West Africa. So listen to some of this, the way you make a notation.
Interpret. Yeah. Yes.
This person called me, say, I cannot listen. He said, I'm not able to listen all the entire. He said, because he said it's too vulgar. You understand? Because as he begin, me not even able to listen to some of them all, because I begin so I know, I don't listen to those kinds of insults. But since I'm a phone in the center, I can just look at them, I don't even listen, I don't say nah, I just left and day. But when you write on my page, I get some people on my page when I'm professors, I get some people on my page when I'm colleagues, some people when are respectable people, diplomats when I'm my page when they watch. I don't go allow Israeli can cost me day or make irresponsible comment on my page because I'm responsible for keep and clean.
That's right.
You respond if you go open your own page, you go cost me day. Now your own business because people do it. If I look at the internet all over the place, then they call me all kind of names. I don't even comment. I know the reply. People will know me or will feel offended and I can go reply. In fact, people they tell me, hey, if you see so possible, go call. If you see the ultimate pass to time, I should make them try it. But when you come to my own page, where I have a responsibility of maintaining decency and decorum, but there are also government people in my page on my page who are there sitting there silent. They've been there for like since 2009. Some of them 2010, for over 10 years. They don't comment, or some of them they even insult me back inside me inbox. They do it inbox. Some of them can do an inbox, so I not block them for that. But you can insult my audience because I take it as an insult to my audience, and I'm responsible for maintaining decorum. I have a responsibility of blocking you because you don't get anything for you. So that's why I block people. But there are people of various sorts on my page who are behaving responsibly, who sometimes when they make comment, as you say, it deserves respond, I can go and respond, address the question. If they ask another question, I address. So when I say them, they repeat the same question, I leave them on that. But evidence of that one day again. So I don't block people who are well-behaved, who are sticking on the issues, but I block people who have nothing to contribute than insult. You know, I mean, that's not decency. Then I want. Coming to the question of, I make a cut them short. What we have published is based on government record. We not only don't do an analysis of the evidence, we also present the evidence. People will tell you, say, hey, bring evidence. Now we don't bring evidence. These people are still offended by the evidence. So what can we do? The fact of the matter is I want to assure listeners, viewers, people who watch, we say this kind of work is not about me. It is for the people of Sierra Leone. It's our own contribution to the conversation. I strongly believe that a well-informed population will one day arrive at a consensus in terms of what it takes to change their society. I believe in the power of the people. I believe, say, not true, not in the last, and we stand by what we have published. We have produced that evidence. And I'm not saying don't, if you want, I'm not against the investigation of a first lady 100 years ago. I have no problem with that. I have just presented, or we have just presented evidence of what we have found. And like I say, for example, I told you the account run by the chief minister was the same account that was being run by the chief of staff. And I don't show you the date where the chief minister started for running. If you ask me again to make, I'll give you the transaction details. So if I tell you, say, this chief minister account get more money than the previous chief of staff, and if they spend, so I will tell you almost that one they spend in the course of 5 years compared to this one. So I decided to hold these people again based on their own terms. This is the government that promised transparency, accountability, reducing wastage and reduce. So you will talk say this thing no go done. If you be no say this na so a day, na so no more for day. Why you been decide say you go change her? Why you also pretend say you make a commission for hold people responsible for the same things that you're doing? So that kind of hypocrisy that I saw behind the curtains, behind the scenes, which is what drove the Africanist press to investigate and bring this to the public domain. And here it is. We will continue to publish this kind of information. We've done it. It not start with Madabio's regime. It predates Madabio. It predates even Anescoma.
Anescoma, yeah.
So
yeah. And this I want to make a lot of people they understand. You know,
years,
a lot of
20 years of work.
Yeah. A lot of people say, oh, this is all about, you know, blackmailing the SLPP government. This is all about sabotaging the efforts of the SLPP government, this, that. Why Chernoh not in the top? People, do your research. Do your research. Like right now, internet is free. You know, I know say forget sometimes access in Sierra Leone is difficult, but I know say when I get them mega data there, especially in the net, then they give una there packages them bundle them, one are they able go research and read. This man hasn't been doing, not for today, one money no more, he grab no more, he decide for pick on the bio regime. Una self don't see during the Anes by Koroma regime, where he been they publish, where the very current president, sitting president right now, they retweet in paper them, they republish, they will share in papers them. So if it was good for the goose, it's now not good for the ganders? Is that what we are trying to say? No, what is good for the goose is all equally good for the ganders. Let us try and respect that. If we go now the Sierra Leone rule, what in the Sierra Leone rule book say? He say Sierra Leone's public financial law and public procurement regulations require that all expenditures from the country's consolidated revenue fund, the government central treasury account, must be based on each procuring agency and department's approval. Budgetary and procurement plans as approved by the parliament for each specific year. Keyword, each specific year. Exactly. And it goes on further to say, Section 18 of the Public Procurement Act of 2016, one of the laws that regulates public procurement in Sierra Leone, specifically provides that all goods and services procured by a minister or department must be included in the prior approved, annual procurement plan for that entity, and that the procurement committee must be in charge of a procurement process. What in they talk about? No, na Matilda na writes the rules here so. Na Chernoh na writes the rules here so. No, it is in the law books of Sierra Leone. So if these rules are not being followed, and we are sitting here in the name of patriotism, in the name of nationalism, in the name of development, and we are talking about them, and you are sitting there saying, oh, na so Salone don't they? How long we go there and that? And then we sit down and so look at that poor boy, lost his vision. In get near detached. Now we sit down, they look for $10,000 for fly and go Ghana. And you people are sitting here talking about, oh, no, na so Salone don't they? Waiting there. I am a communication, anything about communication. I get 2 degrees them in communication, but does that mean I know all of the rules in communications? Does that mean everything I say must hold water? No, I should be open to criticism and corrections. Like, what is wrong with you people? This is why, we country just they go backward and backward and backward and backward, and we not ever see the light of day. And then when people then talk, oh, because this person says so. So if Soare tell you, say, make you go drink poison, you go drink poison because na say so? Is that what you people are saying? When we they make arguments, make we arguments that will make sense. Make we make arguments that way all water. Make we not just make arguments for argument's sake. It's okay for you not to like me. As a matter of fact, I don't care whether you like me or not. That is irrelevant to me. What is important is that we talk about the issues and let us stick to the issues and we make corrections then. Why have a parliament if it's going to be a token parliament? Why have ministers if they are just only going to be there to do what they please? Then we might as well not have elections. We might as well not have elections, period. Make we be serious about this business. People are not sit down and ask for waste their life. This man gets in family where go sit down with this in term. I get me family where they sit down with this in term. If I'm sitting here to have a public discourse, let us have a public discourse. And make we left them kind of a full rehearsal. Because now complete fully, we make a complete mockery of ourselves in front of the international community. So anyway, Mr. Ba, in closing, waiting you want close with. We know for say, I don't talk about the interest. I don't talk about, one person alone withdrawing, over 100 million of withdrawal in cash. 100 million, like, can you imagine? Withdrawal in cash. And then people and they sit down and they talk, how can you justify that? People and they withdraw huge sums of money Friday they come. Then una know they look it in between the lines. If if indeed what he has published, if indeed the records the way he don't show, it been contrary to the records the way they na them book them. Listen, this is Salone. Them before don't pull an adult long term. Then before don't pull an adult long term. When Lara Taylor Pierce came with her investigation, when the reports came, the Auditor General report came, when the SEC say, not to say the report be wrong, but now because there were discrepancy in the numbers and in the way they put the team, you know, see why it been quick for go make a 1 hour disco, because I'm not going to call her disco or lectures about how, yes, she wasn't wrong, but it is the manner in which it was looked at, and we looked at it from this angle. Why haven't they done so? Can we just sit and question ourselves for 1 second and stop this partisan nonsense? Una so quick for throw fingers at people them. Una so quick for waiting and call, but now una the very one them and una family them where they suffer the most. Now una the very one and una families the way they suffer the most. How long are you going to be, pandering on party politics to the detriment of your own life, that of your future generations, and that of your family and loved ones? How long? Show us the evidence. If you get any evidence where contrary to what in don't show, the onus is not on him to dispel that or disprove it. The onus is upon the state, that of the Minister of Finance, that of the Chief Minister's office. What did the Chief Minister office say? Even though the in duties then spelled out correctly, now we talk for saying not to enforce on the permanent secretary. It's so quick to blame the permanent secretary, isn't it? It's so quick to lay blames. Left them kind here, so. Anyways, make I go to Mr. Bar, make Mr. Bar round up. As a matter of fact, even before Mr. Bar round up and give in final comments, I want to go to the technical team. Make the technical team play a video. And this is something we happen in Canada. This is a woman where we don't talk to personally. This is not a woman where I don't fraternize, I don't attend conference with her, I don't sit down at the same panels there with her. As a matter of fact, at one point she's like, yo girl, are you sure you don't want to at some point get into this political game? I'm like, no, I'm not for politics. I'm not cut out for it. I'm cut out to be a gatekeeper. That's what I'm cut out to be. But we Prime Minister, just imagine the equivalent of Madabio, when we Prime Minister dare to cross and not do the right thing. Here was a response to the Prime Minister. I just want for Shona an example how democracy works and how freedom within a sovereign state, where they practice to democracy, how that works. Make I go to the technical team, make it play that, and then I go make Mr. Ba conclude.
She was part of the liberal wave in 2015. Selena Caesar-Chavannes claimed victory as MP for Whitby. New to politics, full of optimism.
We're being open and transparent with Canadians.
But that optimism waned over the next 4 years, feeling marginalized, pigeonholed. Multiple clashes with the PM, some of them awkwardly public, ended with her resignation.
I'm going, so yeah.
Okay, so
I'm good.
I have just been notified by my office that Selena Caesar-Chavannes has decided to sit as an independent.
Canadians know her as someone who doesn't mince words.
I think I'm going to call it out when I see it.
But her new memoir, Can You Hear Me Now, tells a different story. One about often falling short when it comes to speaking up. Selena Caesar-Chavannes, Andrew here. Very nice to link up with you.
Hi, Andrew. It's such a pleasure to be on with you this evening.
I'm curious to know, what is it that you wish the Prime Minister, in your mind, had understood about you a little bit better when you formally took your place in government?
I wanted him to know that, I was smart, I was strategic, and I was able to help with policy. And I didn't want to be a token in his government. I really was fascinated with the fact that he was talking about add women, change politics, a feminist approach, and that diversity was our strength, an intersectional approach. And that really fascinated me. And I really wanted to bring that to bear in politics.
But you're saying you felt silenced, that you felt tokenized. I mean, the PMO would and has framed it very differently, right? Like the Prime Minister doesn't see it that way.
Well, it's not that I felt tokenized, Andrew. There's evidence of that. In my role with the Prime Minister, the 3 international events that I attended were the state visit to Washington, in which I only met Obama. I had no other meetings or anything else to do during that whole time. The opening of the National African American Museum in Washington, again, no other meetings, and the inauguration of President Akufo-Addo in Ghana. All 3 of those international events had a very specific focus, and it was related to my Blackness. It was embarrassing to know that I was not actually hired because I was strategic or because I had business acumen or research background. It was for my Blackness, and that I didn't appreciate.
So the frustration that you would have been feeling at this time ultimately culminates in a pretty explosive exchange over the phone between you and the Prime Minister, where you say what?
Well, the conversation was a courtesy call to tell him that I was no longer going to be running in the 2019 election. And what I had thought naively was that I was going to get the Prime Minister saying, you know, Selena, I value your contribution. I hope that you'd run again. I didn't get any of that. What I got was, you know, Selena, I can't have you make this announcement today because Jody Wilson-Raybould resigned today, and I can't have 2 powerful women of color leave. He went on to talk about his privilege and how people keep talking about his privilege. He went on to say that I should appreciate him. I should appreciate what he's done for me in the time that I've been in government, as if I didn't work hard. And at the end of it, you know, at the end of his rant, I said, you know, motherfucker, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You know, if he had spoken to any member of my constituency, any 130,000 member of Whitby that way, I would have had said the exact same thing, and I'd likely do it again.
Okay, okay, but I mean, that's a hell of a thing to say to the Prime Minister of the country, right?
Well, it's not just a hell of a thing to say to the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister is speaking to me like a child, like someone that he happens to own within his government, what am I supposed to say? Am I still supposed to be polite in that context? I don't think so.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is actually something that you acknowledge almost first and foremost in the book, that in the aftermath of that phone call, where ultimately you decide that you need to leave the party and sit as an independent, virtually the very next day, you were getting calls from Black community leaders who were disappointed.
So yeah, the point where I want for make Nayaso is that here is a Black woman, a very powerful Black woman within the cabinet of a sitting Prime Minister of Canada. We not agree with the way how the Prime Minister they run certain things there, especially when it comes to the Black, you know, the Black population, you know, the minorities in Canada. He said, not to this you've been calling me for, not to this I sign up for. It challenged the Prime Minister. And when the Prime Minister not like that, then go into, you know, a word of exchange and whatnot. And the Prime Minister, they tell us, say, you for tell me thank you for where I elevate your status and where I bring you in and where I do you this and where I do you that. At the end of the day, what you tell the minister, fuck you. That's what she told the Prime Minister. Like, F you. Who do you think you are? Like, I pay me dues. I'm not there so for be your token. So basically, what to make I play this video. Some of you can fail to say the president is the be all and end all and anything that's on our life to him. No. Inside Salone, if somebody go tell Mother Bill, say, oh, because you give me job, because, you know, I run inside your party and whatnot, I not like waiting you to do so there. F you, that person will be sleeping in Pademba Road by now. But Selena is in a house in Whitby. As a matter of fact, I was just in a conference with her last week, enjoying all the privileges of freedom and true democracy. Just because now a politician, just because now a president, not mean for say you know for question them. Just because they are ministers, not mean for say you know for question them work. Not mean for say all waiting and do nine at the right thing or all waiting and they do nine at the right thing. These people are humans. They are fallible to errors and mistakes. You vote them in on something, then get things away they write in the manifesto. If they are not going according to the manifesto, you need to hold them accountable and you need to demand answers. And when they turn around and tell you, say, oh, I am the president, I have the supreme power, whatever, tell them, F you. Who do you think you are? That's not what I signed up for. Anyways, Mr. Bamek, I go to you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we don't make all the essential points. I just want to appreciate the fact that now, create this platform for make we engage right now in a very difficult moment with it for get this kind of conversation, just easy as with the same. I just want to assure people, say, the work for hold leaders accountable and for continue for push for increased transparency in governance and in the management of public resources. Nothing we get for do, it get for it predate the power regime, it get for also go beyond the power regime. That one did nothing we I will assure people, and we still will continue for produce the ongoing series on Sierra Leone, and we appreciate the public conversation, the public solidarity, and also the interest that this has generated. Let's keep the conversation going. I still repeat, say, information means power. Information is power. And one thing we leaders can for learn now the fact that nowadays they can for be able to kind of mention for live with the principles of democracy, the principle for respect free speech. For example, we talk about Gavin Cole, who a couple of weeks ago was dismissed from his private employment, not even government service, private job, because he asked a simple question on Facebook. Not even on the page of the First Lady. The First Lady can join the conversation, and in the process, then, of course, the First Lady and the presidency call, they had him dismissed. How can you dismiss a young man who was looking forward to a career in the financial sector, try for doing anything? He's not in government service. Now you decide for render that individual unemployed. You don't even think about the people who depend on this person, very young person. It's have to terminate in future simply because he asked a question about how you're using public money. If you are not in charge of public money, nobody's going to ask you these questions. So if you want for the public service, you have to be open to scrutiny. You have to be open to self. I have received a lot of insults from people, some of whom 10 years ago pretended to be my friends. I have not responded to you guys, not because I don't have the capacity to respond. I have only continued to do my work, and I will continue with my colleagues to do this work, which I think is more important. Not is going to distract me, but the same insult, there is no special training that you do to be able to be in a capacity to insult. That's the most easy thing to do. Okay. Some of you guys, you know me, we have worked together over 20 years. I have written articles that you have published in your newspapers, example, the Global Times. You did not even pay me for those articles. You ran them free because you think they serve your interest. I don't even ask you for do that. Some of you guys even republished my books, page after page, because you identified with them, you thought they served your interest. Today, few days ago, you wrote all kinds of things. For example, if you allow me, there is this individual.
Yes, go ahead.
For the Chief Minister's office. I would name him Abraham John. Was registrar for the Political Parties Registration Commission, was accused of corruption by, this is somebody that we also defended and said, no, the politics not the office. This individual wrote an article, had his name, and put in the article that Mina from McKinney, that I have been paid. So you make these stories. These are the same person when I've been witness for the whole time that I was criticizing the APC, standing up against the APC. In fact, the institution will the work, that the institution will support dissidents for destabilize the work we'll be to do against the APC. So basically, he was being paid under an APC government. Now he is working in the office of the chief minister, but he get the courage for write articles They call me names and all of that. So I look at these people, I'm amused at you. I laugh in my quiet moment because when I look at you, I know that what you're doing is not because you're committed to Madabio or you're committed to the SLPP. You're committed to your small salary. That small salary is more important to you than people you think are your friends, than people you think are your family members, than the country's interest and the general population. I pity you. So I pity some of these people for the most part. When you write about these things, I'm not offended. I pity you. I'm amused for the most part. I not reply, not because I don't have the capacity to reply, but I save these things because I know in the final analysis, the last word is going to be ours. The people of Sierra Leone are going to pass a verdict against corrupt leaders. They have done it in the past. They're going to do it again. And we will arrive at a point where these things that you think are like these are ordained. They're going to be getting rid of. So that optimism they may get, and that is the motive where they drive. If they doubt why, perhaps all your insults is not getting at me because I believe in the people. I believe say the people definitely will pass verdict against Una, and the final word has always been ours, and it's going to be ours. So that's why I'm not bothered. And at that 10 day now, we will reply Una again and say, look, it's going to be right, but we're going to be friends again, the same friendship that we had. So anyway, make an just because this is a conversation we can continue. But thank you very much, Voice of Sierra Leone. I appreciate this work that you do. It's very important. I will encourage people to support the kind of work that you do, and I will support it every day. Thank you. Without these kinds of platforms, this kind of message don't go out the way it is. I think we are in an amazing place. When we started, people decided to keep the conversation aside. The collective voice of the people cannot be ignored. Let us keep that voice going. Our collective voices will change a lot of things. We have succeeded in undercutting the false narrative of the state around corruption, good governance. If we continue this, definitely this time will lead to the change we want. And it's going to happen. So thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Ba. Change is going to happen. Change takes time sometimes. Change takes resistance sometimes. But one thing that is for sure, with persistence, change does happen. Like where I don't say, the man has provided evidence. At first, you say, oh, where the evidence? You don't provide the evidence. Now we provide the evidence, you say, na allege. You say, na baseless accusation. So where are you? What are you saying? Like, say one thing and stick to it. He's provided the evidence. Now it's for you to come and counter that evidence. But if you don't counter that evidence there and you can't just tell me saying a baseless allegation and you want to make me take a hook, line, and sinker, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I know say the masses of the Sierra Leonean populace, are uneducated. And that's make we then I ask for help, for filter through that, for talk through that, and for really try for get with people and for understand what thing they go on. It go beyond the simple, appearance of, this person said this. Like where the first caller say, because Naina the procurement director waiting he say we for take him. Now no more we for listen to. No, not only no more we for listen to. So because the office of the chief minister come and send a baseless allegation, that's it. That's where the story end. No, that's not where the story end. We need for no say we are worth more. We need for know we worth, and we need for value we worth. It is very important. This conversation does not end here today. It continues on. Like I say, we'll go do analysis. The parliament, some of the opposition party, then they don't table a request. Forget the finance minister, and some people are coming for some questioning and for really look at some of these evidence when Mr. Badon presents to the public. And, for really ask some questions then. I'm not saying that these opposition leaders will be here, sitting with me here next week, same time, but I'm just saying, just stay tuned and see what happens. Stay tuned next week and see what happens. When I go see if I go hear it from them or I not go hear it from them. That's all I'm going to say for now. But what we cannot take, We cannot take mediocrity. What we cannot take is silence. What we cannot take is the bystander, bystander mentality. We cannot take that. It is okay to disagree, but when you disagree, come with facts, come with evidence, not just disagree for the sake of disagreement or for the wording of disagreement. Disagree with substance. Disagree with proof. We fumble them. Corona is real. Corona they kill. Una was una and them. Una take precaution. And also the place don't begin open back small. Una take temper and the lady down. As always, waiting with a friend na this world, make God give them. Waiting with a look for, make God give them. For me, the one the way they cost me, the one the way they call me all kind name. I mean, they don't go to the point. When I don't go to the point, say to the far point, say when I don't say me not to a Sierra Leonean. Say me na Ghanaian. Say Ghana man one can put much pan salon business. Matilda, Josephine, Lillian, Joyce, Loretta, Orimisa, Konaya Cole. From Aberdeen to Frabe to Bandajuma village inside Bond. Namidis, it's all over my head, hips, shoulder, and neck. Salone Titi 100%. Creole Eku Titi 100%. Okay? So me no go answer una because I don't tell una before say if I want answer una, I go middle, right middle, Kuto Road, and Congo Market. So therefore, if na for course, there is no two ways to go about it. Una sabi the one that we grew up na Kuto Road and the one that we grew up na Congo Market. But I will not stoop down to that level. Because guess what? To you all I say, I need no other arguments. I need no other plea. I need no other arguments. I need no other plea. No other argument, no other plea. If una sabi that single, una end them. I need no other arguments. I need no other plea. That's it. Good night, people. May God bless you all.